Cruel and inhumane. That's how some MPs describe the benefits system for people who've been diagnosed with a terminal illness. They're particularly angry at the so-called 6-month rule. They say it means terminally ill people who are expected to live longer than half a year can have their benefits stopped. The Marie Curie End of Life charity estimates that 100 dying people are rejected for support each month. In 2019, the government announced a review, but that still hasn't been published. So today, some of those MPs have written to the Disability Minister, a man called Justin Tomlinson, demanding action. In a moment, we'll talk to one of those MPs, but first, let me introduce you to Michelle McCluskey. Michelle has asked us to show you a really distressing picture of her mum. It is upsetting because it shows Michelle's mum when she was very ill. Michelle says this was her late mum, Christine McCluskey, at about the time of her Department for Work and Pensions assessment for benefits. Michelle says her mum died of cancer, weighing just 3.5 stone, and endured the nightmare of having her benefits stopped. Michelle, thank you very much for talking to us. Good morning.
Good morning.
What happened in your mum's case?
So what had actually happened was she was moving from DLA, which is Disability Living Allowance, to PIP, which obviously triggered a face-to-face assessment. That face-to-face assessment was carried out in April 2018, and she was basically her benefits were stopped. She was awarded a maximum 4 points, which obviously meant she didn't qualify for any kind of PIP. So that stopped, and we obviously went to mandatory reconsideration. Again, it was refused, and then we went to full-on tribunal in February 2019, where she was actually awarded maximum points for the daily living and the mobility element of PIP. But unfortunately, it was too late because she passed in September 2018.
And how do you feel about that?
I'm very angry. I'm very angry at what she was put through, what I was put through, what the whole family was put through. And this is the reason why I have decided to do this. Since Mum passed, I have not stopped writing to MPs, trying to put in a complaint to IES, which was part of ATOS, the Independent Assessment Services. And basically, I just got absolutely nowhere. Nobody should be made to go through the assessments and be totally just humiliated. It's awful. I mean, when that assessor went into my mum's home in April 2018, my mum had obviously a long history of illness like Crohn's, COPD, she'd had a stroke, small gut syndrome, various other things. But she was actually assessed in 1986 and 2002, where she was actually classed as 80% or more disabled. So that award went on for life, it says on the letter. But then obviously the changing from Disability Living Allowance to PIP, it generated this face-to-face assessment, which obviously didn't go in her favour at all.
Sure. And PIP stands for Personal Independence Payment.
Yeah.
Why did the Department of Work and Pensions stop your mum's benefits?
Honestly, I do not know. I mean, I have went through the forum so many different times looking at the questions they're asked, and for her to be awarded 4 points, they actually say...
Well, just tell our audience the significance of being awarded 4 points. What does that mean in practical terms?
Well, basically, she's cut off from the benefit, and that's it. You need a maximum, I think it's 12 points to be awarded enhanced, I believe. So obviously, we're only getting the 4. She got, they stopped it. They stopped the benefit.
And the kind of things that they assess an individual on are how far can you walk? Can you make yourself a cup of tea? Can you make yourself food? All that sort of stuff.
Can you get yourself in and out of bath? That kind of stuff. Make budgeting decisions, etc., etc.
Can I ask? I mean that the photograph of your mum that you've given us permission to show to our audience is so upsetting. That was when she weighed 3.5 stone. She had cancer on top of all the other illnesses that you've already told us about. Why did you want us to show this to our audience?
People need to see what's going on. And Department of Work and Pensions, honestly, they should hang their head in shame. It is absolutely awful. what they're putting people through. Whether somebody's got a terminal or whether somebody's got a progressing, like, chronic condition, they shouldn't be made to go through that process. It's just not right.
Can I read you a statement that we have had from the Department for Work and Pensions? Terminal illness is devastating, and our priority is dealing with people's claims quickly and compassionately, which we've continued to do through the pandemic. We're grateful to charities and stakeholders who've worked with us, including Marie Curie, for their invaluable insight, and are working across the government on proposals, including changing the 6-month rule and raising awareness of the support available.
Do you know what's frustrating on that statement is the fact that obviously at the time when Mum was assessed, she didn't know she had the cancer. She was struggling to breathe. She had a cough, which then went to obviously our consultant, and she got referred for a radiology scan. So in the middle of July, she was diagnosed with double lung cancer, right? We then got a DS 1500, which is basically a form that the GP fills in saying that somebody has got 6 months or less to live. That was dated the 14th of August. That letter, that form, got submitted to DWP. It took them a month to reply. The date that letter got issued to my mum was the day my mum died. So there is no fast track, even with that form. That form should have automatically reinstated whatever benefits she was stopped. And to top it all off, they actually issued her a fixed penalty notice.
What?
They issued her a fixed penalty notice.
For what?
So because her PIP had stopped and because she hadn't notified the department that there was a change in circumstances with regards to the PIP, they then sent her a letter saying that you are now overpaid by £321, and they've actually added a £50 civil penalty notice.
Wow.
What are they actually playing at? It just so makes me furious, absolutely furious. So on top of her benefits being stopped, somebody that's been then diagnosed with a terminal condition has then issued with a letter saying you're now lost that, and plus we'll add on a £50 fixed penalty notice. It's totally wrong.
Let me bring in Drew Hendry then, SNP MP, chairs the House of Commons All-Party Parliamentary Group for Terminal Illness. Mr Hendry, thank you for talking to us.
Good morning.
First of all, what do you think of the case of Christine McCluskey?
Well, I think Michelle's, I want to thank Michelle for bringing this to public attention, because this is by no means unique, but the way that Michelle's just presented what's happened to her family and to her mother, I think should cut through to a lot of people. This is a disgraceful situation that's been affecting terminally ill people for years now, and it's not unknown. You know, we've produced an all-party group report 3 years ago pointing out that this wasn't working for people, that it was cruel to put them through this, to make people who've been diagnosed for terminal illness report to work coaches, to get benefits. And then 2 years since we've been promised the review into this by the UK government, and despite promise after promise after promise, still no action.
So, the Disability Minister, whose name is Justin Tomlinson, I mean, you've sent a letter to him today saying what?
Well, we've said that, enough is enough. It's time now to change this, to get rid of the 6-month rule. It's a cruel condition to put on people. The fact is that if you've been diagnosed with a terminal illness, it's a diagnosis that you're going to die. The fact that it's impossible for doctors and clinicians to prove that somebody will die within 6 months quite often. Sometimes it isn't. They can do that because it's perhaps a very, very aggressive illness, but in most cases that's not possible for them to do. So people go into limbo. And research from Marie Curie and the MND Association has shown that over the past few years, 6,000 people have died waiting to get their benefits. And this is an unacceptable situation. It can't go on any longer. And he really should live up to the promises that have been made time and time again to people, the families, and to the organisations campaigning on this to change the rules and get this situation sorted out so that we can get fairness and dignity for people in their dying months and years.
Thank you very much for talking to us. Thank you. Drew Hendry, SNP, NP, chairs the House of Commons All Party Parliamentary Group for Terminal Illness. And Michelle McCluskey, thank you very much for telling us about your mum. And we'll see what difference your case, your mum's case and what she went through can make. Thank you.
Hopefully. Thanks.
Thank you.